All right, welcome back. So, let me check my output. There we go. That looks good. So, closing out week 3. Got 2 more days of this week. I skipped on week on day Wednesday. I completely skipped. I think on Wednesday, which is fine. Um, because they only need things done 6 days of the 7 days of the week. So we do have a lot of catching up to do, however, and I forgot to include the link on that one. So got the link here. There we go. So next video, yep. So we've got a lot of reading left over to do, and we got all the supplemental materials. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to those, but let's try to knock off a few things today. So I've got the formal practice and the informal practice. So let's work on those first. So let's start with the informal because that one's easier. And so this is we're logging unpleasant events. So so we need to and the instructions are on the other one, the formal. So at the end of the day, before you go to bed, which I haven't been doing, just when I go to bed, I'm tired, so I can't really do things like that in that tired state. So recall one specific unpleasant event and record it. So I have to think back through the other day, or maybe I can do one right now. So it doesn't have to be major. It could be impatience waiting in line or mildly annoyed. So all right, so the unpleasant event I had yesterday was going back to my old ways, breaking out my meal plan, ordering out, being lazy, not wanting to leave the apartment, not even for a juggling club, zero energy, worn out. So I was lazy, no energy, fear and anxiety for leaving my comfort zone. Felt like a failure for not. Yeah, so same thing, making poor choices, skipping an awesome event downtown to instead lazily laze around and binge eat. Not living up to the standards I want to set for myself going forward. Yeah, so that's definitely it. And no, I wasn't aware of. I really had to think about it, so I was not aware of it. So how does my body feel? Just really lazy. Wound down, really kind of gluttonous, just not willing to experience even a second of discomfort for the sake of doing something fulfilling. So yeah, that it doesn't have to be a lot of words, so that's it. So as I accompany a same mentality was overtaken by my pig, and spent the last few days, and this is from the library book I read, a few days eating pig slop. The pig squeals overtook me. And then what thoughts and sensations? So what was the pig squeal? I forget. It was like sometimes, because I read a whole book on this, but it's like So I feel like one of the pig squeals. So so identifying a pig squeal, because there's CBT refutations, cognitive behavioral therapy refutations, where if you get something like, oh, you should do this, do that, you can, and I went through that with ChatGPT. I did CBT refutations, but then I went back to my old habits anyway. So how am I feeling now? Feeling pretty tired, despite having slept extra. Feel like numb. Face feels saggy. Feel bloated. So that's it. All right. So now that brings me to the formal practice. So the formal practice. Oh man, I gotta do yoga. This is gonna be rough. All right. Well, it's time to do yoga for the formal practice, which is not gonna be fun at all. But I'm gonna do it. So yeah. So we're gonna do mindful yoga 1, and I am going to absolutely suffer.
one direction and point your toes and stretch them in the opposite direction. Getting a nice, deep, full body stretch. Feeling the stretch through the elbows, the armpits, and shoulders, and the rib cage. Continuing to breathe as you stretch. Now taking another deep breath in. And on the out breath, bringing the arms slowly and mindfully back down to rest alongside the body. Staying in touch with them all the way. And noticing the wave of release when your arms make contact with the floor. Feeling the whole body once again and inviting the breath to be deep and full. And feeling the effects of just this one stretch. And now when you're ready, bringing one knee and then the other into your chest and taking a hold of the legs and squeezing them into your chest. And if you'd like, gently rocking side to side, getting a nice massage of the muscles along the spine. Taking a few deep breaths in and out, feeling the belly expanding into the legs. Letting your face be relaxed and soft. Continuing to pull the knees up toward the chest to get a deeper stretch. And when you're ready, taking a hold of the right leg and letting the left leg go straight on the floor. Gently pulling the right knee up into your chest in the wind relieving posture. You can move the right knee from side to side or even make circles with your knee in one direction and the other, just loosening up that right hip. Relaxing the face, inviting the breath to be deep. If you'd like, you can circle the toes of the right foot in one direction to loosen up the ankle. And circle the toes in the opposite direction. And when you're ready, switching sides. Letting go of the right knee, letting it go straight on the floor, and bringing the left knee up into your chest, hugging it tight. Moving the knee from side to side, or circling the knee to get some movement into that left hip. Circle the toes of the left foot, loosening up the ankle. Breathing, moving the toes in the opposite direction. And then letting the left foot come down to the floor and bending your right leg so the right foot is flat on the floor. And from here, we'll move into the crocodile twist. So to prepare the body for the twist, shift your bottom about an inch to the left on your mat. Clasping your hands and bringing them behind your head. Bringing one knee and then the other into the chest. And when you're ready, just letting the knees fall over to the right as far as they'll go. It doesn't matter if your knees reach the floor, but trying as best you can to leave your left elbow and shoulder flat on the floor so your chest is facing up toward the ceiling. Now inviting the breath to be full. pushing the body too far and not striving to be in any particular position, but letting the body slowly release and open up all on its own. And then to move out of the twist, bringing your right knee back to your chest and the left knee will follow. And lower the feet on the floor and straightening out the body so your spine is straight on your mat. And releasing your hands from behind your head and pausing here for a moment and feeling the effect of the twist on the body. And now when you're ready, bringing your right ankle to rest above your left knee. And then bring your left knee toward your chest, clasping your hands together behind the left leg by bringing your left hand around the outside of the left leg and threading your right hand through the hole that's been created by your right leg. Hugging your left leg in close to your chest. And if you'd like, you can gently rock side to side. Inviting the breath to be deep and full. Feeling the stretch now in the right hip. Imagine that you can breathe all the way down into the right hip and out from the right hip. Letting the body relax and let go. Now this is a good posture for preparing the body for sitting meditation by opening the hips and allowing you to sit on a cushion more comfortably. Now releasing the clasp of your hands and letting the left foot go flat on the floor, bringing the right foot back to the floor and just switching sides. Bringing the left ankle over the right knee and bringing your right knee into your chest, clasping the hands now around the right leg and having the right leg into your chest and gently rocking side to side. Taking a nice long deep breath into the body and letting the breath and the sensations in the body be your anchor to the present. Remember when your mind wanders away, as it will, coming back again and again to the breath and the body sensations. One more deep breath in and out. And when you're ready, releasing the clasp of the hands and letting the right foot come flat on the ground and bringing the left foot flat. Pausing here for a moment. Now we'll do some core strengthening postures. We'll start by clasping your hands behind your head and bringing your knees into your chest, raising your head toward your knees and bringing your right elbow to the left knee. Switching sides and bringing your left elbow to the left knee. Once more, bringing your right elbow to your left knee and straightening out that right leg. And we'll do some bicycle motions back and forth. Moving at your own rate. Bicycling back and forth. Remembering to breathe. Breathing out as you move to each side. You need to stop before I say to. Go ahead and do so. Just a few more here together. And then when you're ready, relaxing, head back down to the floor, letting your feet go flat, placing your hands on your belly, feeling the strength that it took to do these postures. And we're going to use that strength as we move into the boat posture. So reaching your fingertips up towards your knees or taking a hold of your leg and bringing yourself to a seated position. Your feet are flat on the floor, about hip-width apart. Bringing your hands behind you, your fingertips facing forward, and raising your legs so that they're parallel to the floor. squeezing all the way down into the inner thighs, helping them to open and release, letting the breath be deep and full. And from here, we're going to move into a twist. So to do the twist, we're going to start by leaning to the left as you bring your right foot either to the front of your left knee or over your left knee. You want to have both sit bones flat on the ground, sitting up nice and tall, taking a deep breath in, and on the out breath, we're going to twist the body to the right as you bring your right arm behind you, placing your hand on the floor and cradling your right leg with your left hand or arm, and twisting the head and looking as far to the right as you can, even looking into the far right corners of your eyes, finding a spot to focus on and keeping your attention there as best you can. In yoga, that's called a drishti. It helps to improve concentration and focus. Breathing in as you lift up, straighten the spine. As you breathe out, moving to the edge of your twist. And one more deep breath in. And on the out breath, releasing the arms and coming back into the bound angle posture. Bringing your soles of the feet together, hands behind you, sitting up nice and tall. Connecting with the breath once more. Pausing here for a moment. And then we'll move to the other side. So leaning to the right as you bring your left foot either to the front of the right leg or over your right knee. Making sure that both sit bones are flat on the ground, sitting up nice and tall. And then twisting to the left, trailing the leg with your arm, bringing the left arm behind you, twisting the head so you have a nice twist from the bottom of your spine to the top of your spine. Looking out into the corners of the eyes, finding one spot of attention, inviting the breath to be deep, even though it's a little difficult to breathe deeply in the twisted posture. Consciously taking some nice, long, full breaths, bringing your awareness down into the body. A couple of more breaths in and out. And then releasing a twist by letting go of the arm, coming back to center, and bringing the soles of the feet together once more in the bound angle. And now when you're ready, we're going to move into the head to knee posture. So you'll start by bringing your left leg straight in front of you. And you'll take a hold of your right ankle and bring it across your left leg so that the knees are falling out on top of you. Clasping your hands around your right knee, flexing your left foot so that your toes are pointed up toward the ceiling. Sitting up nice and tall, spine erect. Taking a deep breath in as you lift up, and as you breathe out, letting the chest fall forward over your legs. And feeling the sensations of stretch along the back of the left leg, the hamstrings, the calf muscles, releasing, letting go. And close your eyes if you'd like. These muscles down the back of the legs shorten by sitting at our desks all day long and when we exercise. So it's really a good idea to spend some time lengthening them out on a regular basis. Leaving your spine straight and just falling forward to the place that helps you get a mild to slightly moderate sensation. sense of the body stretching and opening, not creating tension, but a sense of gentle releasing and letting go. Looking for the sensation that feels delicious. Breathing deeply, relaxing the face and jaw, letting the body just lengthen on its own. A couple of more deep breaths in and out. And then once again, sitting up and just crossing your legs in preparation for some neck rolls and shoulder releases. Resting your hands on your legs. And then dropping your chin down to your chest. Feel the stretch along the back of the neck, letting your shoulders be relaxed. Taking a deep breath in and out here. And then rolling your right ear over your right shoulder. Releasing the muscles along the left side of the neck. Breathing in and out. And then rolling the head across the front. Bringing your left ear over your left shoulder. A nice stretch along the right side of the neck. Connecting with the breath. And then moving your head in whatever way feels good for you. Taking some time now to explore the movement in the neck. Moving in and out of sensations. Relaxing the face and the jaw. And then bringing the head up to neutral and dropping it straight back and feeling the stretch along the front of the neck, the throat, chest. Breathing in and out here. And then bringing your head forward. And we'll begin to roll the shoulders in the forward direction. Making big circles with the shoulders. Letting the arms relax. Moving the body in response to the breath. In as you move your shoulders up. Out. Bring the shoulders down. And then moving in the opposite direction. Feeling the sensations in the shoulders. Loosening, relaxing. And then when you're ready, coming to rest. And we'll do something called eagle arms. First of all, breathing in and bringing your arms up into a V position. And as you breathe out, bringing your arms down in front of your torso, keeping them straight. Crossing the right arm underneath the left. Bending your elbows and bringing the palms of your hands together. And pressing them together as best you can. Lifting your elbows up, stretching your fingers toward the ceiling. Finding your version of the posture. Taking a deep breath into the back between the shoulder blades, feeling the shoulder blades opening and releasing. Staying connected with the breath. And releasing the arms, bringing them back up into a deep position. And then breathing out, bringing the left arm underneath the right, extending the elbows, bringing the palms of the hands together. In the eagle position on this side. Taking a deep breath in and out, lifting the arms up. Feeling the stretch now in between the shoulder blades. Bringing new oxygen, blood into this area of the body. Can often be tight and tense. One more deep breath in and out. And releasing the hands. And bringing the arms and hands behind you, clasping the hands behind you. The shoulder blades together. Opening up the chest. Sitting up nice and tall. Breathing in and out. Noticing if your mind wanders away once we've moved into a posture. And bringing yourself left hand to the side of your body, raising your right hand up towards the ceiling, reaching your fingertips up to the ceiling as you breathe in, and as you breathe out, bending over to the left, as far as you can go. Leaving your chest open, inviting the breath to be deep, stretching, reaching the right fingertips out to the left, doing the stretch all the way down the arms and into the hips. And then coming back up again, the right hand down to the floor, the left hand up to the ceiling, breathing in as you lift your left hand up. Right. Leaving the chest open, feeling the stretch along the left side of the body now. Notice how the body begins to release over time. Listening to the body's signals about how far to go. And when to move further or open to back off. And then coming back up again once more. Bringing your hands back to your knees and pausing briefly, breathing. Sensing the body being a little bit taller. And now we're going to come onto our hands and knees for the cat and cow postures. Okay, so you want to make sure in this tabletop position that your wrists are right above your shoulders and that your knees are directly below your hips. You want to spread your fingertips wide apart. You're going to move into cat. You're going to exhale as you arch your back. Pushing out through the hands, tucking your tailbone, arching your back, dropping your head, letting your head be relaxed. And on the inhale, moving into cow by letting your belly be lowered to the floor, lifting your sit bones and your chest, looking up towards the ceiling. And then breathing out as you move into cat. Breathing in as you move into cow. And then moving back and forth at your own rate of breath. Loosening up the spine. A couple of more times. And then coming into a neutral position, onto your hands and knees, and we'll move into the sunbird. To do that, you're going to extend your right arm forward and your left leg behind you, parallel to the floor, reaching in both directions, your fingertips in one direction and toes in the other. You can look down at the floor or you can look out over your fingertips. Relaxing as best you can, breathing. It's a posture that requires a lot of strength in the arms, and the back, and the legs. Feeling the muscles that are working in this posture. One more deep breath in and out, and then lowering the right hand and the left knee, and then releasing the spine by coming into cat. Just one time, and then coming back into a neutral position, and we'll move to the other side. Raising your left arm up and your right leg back, parallel to the ground, reaching in both directions, looking at one spot of attention, breathing, relaxing the face and jaw. Relaxing everything that doesn't need to be working in order to do this posture. Breathing deeply helps you to hold the posture. Smiling helps you to relax. And lowering your left hand, lowering your right knee, and releasing the spine by doing the cat once more. Pushing all the way up into the arch, and then coming back into the neutral position. One more time, and we'll move into a C curve, which is a simple posture, but helps gain more flexibility in the spine. So exhaling as you look over your right shoulder and bring your right shoulder and hips together. Breathing. And then exhaling as you look over your left shoulder. Breathing here, bringing your left hip and shoulder together. And doing it one more time, looking out over your right shoulder, bringing your right hip and shoulder toward one another. And then one more time, moving in the opposite direction, bringing your left hip and shoulder together. And then coming back to neutral. And then lying down on our back for the last couple of postures that we'll be doing. Let your knees bent, your feet flat on the floor. And you want your heels as close as possible to your sit-bone. Your arms are resting by your side with the palms facing down on the floor. Start by flattening the lower back onto the floor, and then lifting your tailbone up and rolling the body up toward the ceiling one vertebrae at a time into the bridge posture. Lifting the buttocks up as high as it will go. And you'll just be resting on your head, shoulders, and arms and feet. Inviting the breath to be deep. You can even see the belly rising and falling in this position. And trying to keep your knees about hip width apart. And you can stay here, or you can clasp your hands underneath your body, wiggling one shoulder and then the other towards the center. Pressing down through the arms to keep you lifted up. Or you can just leave the arms at your side, finding your version of the posture. Breathing. Nice, full, deep breath. And if you need to come down before I say to, doing slowly, one vertebrae at a time. But together, let's try to hold the posture for a couple of more deep breaths in and out. It helps to relax the face and jaw. Feeling the strength that it takes to hold the body in this position. Feeling the fatigue in the leg muscles. And slowly lowering the body one vertebrae down at a time by bringing your shoulders far apart, hands by your side. Feeling the massage along the back and feeling the wave of relief as the body begins to melt into the floor. Pausing for a moment and you get down to the floor and feeling the effects of the bridge posture. And then to release the spine, we'll do a knee down twist by simply letting the knees fall out over to the right to release the spine. It is always good to do after a back bending posture like a bridge. And then moving your knees to the other side and letting them fall to the left, connecting with the breath. And then bringing the knees back up, and we'll move into the corpse pose. You can stay here, bringing your feet out a little bit further apart and letting the knees fall together. Or you can straighten your legs and let your feet fall to either side. Your arms are at your side with the palms facing up toward the ceiling. Or you can place your right hand over your belly and your left hand over your chest. Just allowing the body to relax and let go. Feeling the effects of all of the postures that we've done together. Giving yourself time to relax, feeling what it's like just to be experiencing yourself as being stronger and more flexible, not simply in your body, but in your life in general. And as you move back into your day, noticing how this practice of yoga might bring more flexibility and kindness into your relationship, not only with your body, but with life.
All right, so that is that for the formal practice for today. So I've just got one left that I'll knock off tomorrow, and then it'll be the end of week 3. So the one of the things you need to do is so this didn't go as bad as before. So then a part of it is to put a few words to remind you of your impressions. So to maneuver around my obese waist, not much flexibility, soreness in elbow, left knee feels iffy. I mean that's as much as it really needs to be. There, just a few words. So, with that, that's it for the second to last. So seventh day and beyond is optional. So we just got one more sitting meditation left in week 2, and we're almost done with. In week 3. And we're almost to the halfway point. Once we're done with week 4, so the end of next week, that'll be halfway through the course. Okay, so I've got some extra time. I think the reading is going to be probably the hardest to get through. I'm through everything else. So I just need 3 more readings to get done. So let's knock these off because those will be hard to get through. All right, let's try to get this one done now. So this is from the Inquiring Mind. This whole course is pretty old. So this is from 2007, one of the more recent readings. But it's okay. The science has just gone on to further validate the concepts here and to actually have more like real world practical applications of them. So it's quite a bit old. But it's free and it's the same stuff. So I hadn't thought of that by Wes Nisker. I hadn't thought of that. I have to start here. Okay, so here's a picture, and this is where we start. After years of meditation practice, and I'll do a sound check now after an hour in. There we go. After years of meditation practice, one of the most significant changes in my life has been my relationship to my mind. We're still living together, of course, and we remain friends. But my mind and I are no longer codependent. I am taking back control of myself. The change in our relationship started when I finally admitted that my mind had a thinking problem. I was a heavy thinker, often starting with 2 or 3 thoughts the minute I got up in the morning, and then continuing to think throughout the day until bedtime. My mind produced thought after thought about love and work, of course, along with existential thoughts and trashy ones. Thoughts about clothing, food, music, politics. One subject after another, on, and all of it centered around me, which became embarrassing as well as oppressive. The thinking would not let me be either at ease without worry or in the moment. I began to see my mind as an insecure, selfish, nagging inner bitch who was stealing my happiness and destroying my life. For our mutual survival, I decided to seek an intervention. At first, I tried analysis with hopes of uncovering the psychological origin of my mind's need to think. Later, I got into some gestalt screaming, flailing, and crying, which only temporarily stopped the flow of thinking. And intermediately, I used drugs, trying to blow my mind by short-circuiting the neural wiring. Finally, I tried meditation. So I never went through all of that. My biggest problem has been binge eating. I'm mostly doing this because I want to handle the stress of taking certification exams better. It turned out that the goal of meditation was not to stop thinking, as I had assumed, but rather to expose my mind to itself. Before meditation, I was completely focused on the content of thoughts, how to manipulate them, and extract meaning from them. That is what I was graded on in school and what our culture considers important. But nobody had taught me how to look at the process of thinking itself or at the intrinsic nature of thought. As the Tibetan sage Tulku Yurjin said, the stream of thoughts surges throughout the mind of an ordinary person who will have no knowledge whatsoever about who is thinking, where the thought comes from, and where the thought disappears. The person will be totally and mindlessly carried away by one thought after another. Let's be clear, thinking is not bad or some kind of roadblock to enlightenment. In fact, thinking is an essential tool of our well-being and even our survival. Perhaps a warning sign should be put up at meditation centers advising all who entered on the path, give up thinking at your own risk. Indeed, thinking is fabulous. Our genius as a species is the ability to create complex symbols, agree on their meaning, and use them to encode our knowledge and inscribe our plans. The thinking function allows us to compute, reason, and imagine, and perhaps most important of all, to share our understanding with each other in the form of speech or writing. We can even record our thinking and pass it on to future generations. Hold that thought. Unfortunately, as a species, we have grown to value thinking to the exclusion of other aspects of our well-being. The more we become identified with our thoughts, the more we are lost in our individual narrative, disconnected from what we have in common with other humans and other forms of life. We have turned our sense of self over to our thinking mind, leaving us lost in thought, disembodied. Especially in Western culture, heads are us. Although we remain convinced that our ability to think somehow makes us the chosen species, essentially superior to the rest of creation, in the modern era, this belief is being challenged. In his secret notebooks, Charles Darwin wondered, why is thought, which is a secretion of the brain, deemed to be so much more wonderful than, say, gravity, which is a property of matter? It is only our arrogance, our admiration of ourselves. Making the point, Stephen Jay Gould wondered if an intelligent octopus would go around being so proud of its 8 arms. And I don't think I think whether or not gravity is a property of matter is still very much not proven. There was a very testing video about it potentially being geodesic, where like it's but anyways, I don't know much about that. So moving on. Meanwhile, the new cognitive sciences are putting thought in its proper place in the scheme of things. Research into our brain and nervous system reveals that most of our interpretation of the world, as well as our decision making, takes place on what Daniel Dennett calls the subpersonal level, without a rational, conscious thinking self directing or guiding the process. In fact, brain science reveals that thinking comes about quite late in the cognitive sequence, apparently in order to weave our experience into the ongoing story we tell about ourselves. As one neuroscientist put it, we don't have a rational mind so much as we have a rationalizing mind. Our thinking is, for the most part, an afterthought. Do we overvalue our thinking? The scientists seem to think so. Those who study cognition say it is a way of organizing experience, while the evolutionary scientists see it as an adaptation, something that evolved like the eye or the disposable thumb. Great tool, folks, but not the be-all and end-all of creation. The Buddha would appear to agree with Darwin and the scientists. He regarded the mind as a sixth sense, but did not... Oh man, that was... Oh, I need to do that. I'm glad I was reminded of that because I would have forgot otherwise. He regarded the mind as a sixth sense and did not seem to give thinking any more or less importance than sight or hearing. Like the other five senses, our thinking is simply another way of reading and interpreting the world, and as is true with our other senses, the main job of the thinking mind is survival. Just try to imagine what humans were thinking 20,000 years ago. I would guess it was something along the lines of, I wonder who is going on the hunt tomorrow, or the gods want me to put red clay on my face to make the enemy run away, or honey, who is watching the fire tonight? Now our thoughts are... I mean, I would think that they'd have really sophisticated thoughts, like to do with weather patterns, the patterns of like animals, hunting, tracking, gardening. Like I would imagine that they were gardeners on steroids. Like they were more sophisticated than the most sophisticated gardener. I would imagine that when it comes to like gardening, the most advanced gardener alive today is many orders of magnitude less sophisticated than what they were. So I would imagine that they were thinking really sophisticated thoughts back then, trying to recognize weather patterns. I mean, honestly, if you study like the music stuff I do, like music from the antiquity times, it can be pretty sophisticated. But anyways, now our thoughts are about our medical insurance or the news from around the world, or our love, like aka passing on our genes. And as the song goes, it's still the same old story. On most of our interior human screens in any given era is another episode of Survivor. When I regard thinking, and for people who don't know, this is super old, in 2007, Survivor is, and possibly was, it might still be on the air, but when was it taken off the air? Is it still on the air? IMDb would probably... is it still on the air? Oh, yeah, it's... Okay, well, dang, it's been going strong for 24 years. Okay, so I guess I don't need to tell people. When I regard thinking as a survival tool, it helps to demystify and depersonalize the process. I see my thoughts as somewhat generic, as endemic to my species, not as I, me, or mine. So after years of meditation and with the help of modern science, I now have some understanding of both the source and nature of thought and have gained a degree of freedom. I no longer have to believe in or get carried away by every thought that comes along. So Wes Nisker is a co-editor of Inquiring Mind and an author and meditation teacher. This piece first appeared in the Inquiring Mind, but also appears as a chapter in his book, Crazy Wisdom Saves the World. And he has a website. Maybe the website's still up. Yep, the website is still up. All right. So the next one is your mind, friend, or foe. And this is a pretty short one, so let's try to knock it off. Who is your enemy? Mind is your enemy. No one can harm you more than your own mind untamed. And who is your friend? Mind is your friend. No one can help you more than your own mind wisely trained. Not even your own mother and father. Buddha. How can we be mindful of the mind in the mind? Just as there's a river of bodily sensations passing through consciousness, just as there's a river of 500 emotions passing through us, there's also a river of thoughts. If you try to sit silently for a minute, what happens? Does your mind become quiet and stay quiet? The mind will not become quiet upon command. Instead, what most people experience is the inner waterfall, a cascading stream of thoughts. It's like a cartoon I saw once of a car crossing a vast desert landscape, where the roadside sign says, "Your own tedious thoughts the next 200 miles." One scientist declared that we have an average of about 65,000 thoughts a day. I think it's probably closer to 37,000, but whatever the number is, the river of thoughts is not under your control. And these thoughts have very little honesty. They will tell you any kind of story and be dedicated to many beliefs which are absurd. Much of the river is composed of reruns. It's like not being able to sleep in a hotel room, and you pick up the remote control and turn on the TV, but all you can get are the cable shopping stations selling cheap jewelry and gimmicky kitchen gadgets with a breathless sense of urgency that just goes on and on. But in your case, it's reruns of your last love affair or of a conversation you had at work, or anxiety and shame about some problem, or anger at being treated poorly by someone in your distant past. And no matter what you wish, you had trouble changing the channel. The whole parade just keeps repeating and repeating without resolution. It can be really crazy in there, have you noticed? What can you do with your thoughts, especially the stories of anxiety and fear? With mindfulness of the mind, you come to realize that much of what you believe is the product of your imagination. Thoughts can be misleading in many ways. Your thoughts are filled with praise and blame, hope and fear. You will hear the voices of your parents internalized like monologues, sometimes appearing as the inner judge and the inner tyrant. Then there are the voices of the unloved child or the ambitious achiever, voices who are always trying to fix or deceive us. There are healthy voices, wise voices, and loving voices too. But most of the time, your thoughts are like a bureaucracy that continues to perpetuate itself even when the need for it has outgrown, even when it's actually become unpleasant and restrictive and possibly dangerous to you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." So what can you do? With mindfulness, you can stop taking them so seriously. You can come to know that your thoughts make a good servant, but not a good master. You can step back and listen to your thoughts mindfully and then decide whether they're useful or not. It's true that you still need some thoughts to plan for the future and to problem solve, but you could eliminate 90% of your thoughts and still have plenty to do the job. The first thing you can do is to listen to your thoughts with mindful awareness. You will see the effervescent nature of thoughts, and they are fleeting ideas, all impermanent. And then you can begin to realize that just because you have a thought doesn't mean you have to believe it, much less act on it, and certainly not get caught up in the whole stream of them. You can release the mind of some of its more dangerous patterns. Observing the mind with mindfulness brings liberation. After you learn to see what's in your mind and learn to release and disidentify it with the unhealthy patterns, you discover a deeper level of liberation. My teacher, Siri Nisargadatta, explained it like this. The mind creates the abyss and the heart crosses it. When you rest in the present moment with mindfulness, you open to a presence which is timeless and beyond the understanding of thought. It's by returning to the awareness beyond thoughts that you experience real healing. When your mind and heart open, you realize who you are, the timeless, limitless awareness behind all thought. Remembering who you really are, you see with the heart. You see the face of someone you love. You see the plum tree that's blooming in front of you. You may be sitting with someone who's grieving or angry, or maybe you're just walking back to your car. But now you're doing it while being fully awake. It's so beautiful to come back to this earth. Even in great difficulty, you can become aware that you are in the presence of mystery, and this experience alone is breathtaking in its power. For Nisargadatta, the mind creates the abyss of right and wrong, of worries and fears that lead us away from this timeless presence. The only power that can cross this abyss is the awakened heart. Even in difficulty, the awakened heart rests in love. So this is written by Jack Kornfield. He's taught meditation internationally since 1974 and is one of the key teachers to introduce mindfulness practice to the West. He holds a PhD in clinical psychology and is a father, husband, and activist. His books have been translated into 20 languages and have sold more than 1 million copies. So he wants you to buy a book. But remember, if you're a fan of this channel, you watch this channel, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the library online, and if you want to read something he wrote, you're going to start there. So you're going to copy his name, paste it in, and look at this. So we've got all kinds of... oh, look at this. We've got a whole book on guided meditations. You know what? Let me take some of those because that could be a good thing for me to do when I'm just kind of. Oh, so I already have 10 loans taken out. So maybe there's something I can return, but for now but that's yeah. These are. Well, you know what I can do? I can take it. I'll take it under for later. There we go. So we got 2 tagged under for later, and then. So don't want that one. We can take this one as well for later. Perfect. There we go. So if you're a fan of this channel, then you're using your local library extensively. Work, pray, code. Oh man, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm reshaping my spirituality to serve to my religion of peak productivity. Oh my god, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Alright, well I'm going to take this one too then, because it sounds like it's a whole book about why I need to not do what I'm literally doing right now. So bringing religion into the workplace in ways that are replacing traditional places of worship, blurring the line between work and religion, and transforming the very nature of spiritual experience in modern life for the sake of working harder. Oh no. Highly skilled workers have been devoting more time to... Yeah. Okay. Tech firms are offering spiritual care such as Buddhist-inspired mindfulness practices to make their employees more comfortable. Or a tech worker independent like me is just doing it on my own accord. Wow. Okay. But oh, wow. Okay. That's a good point, because there is a number of spaces in Austin that like do this. So I could just go out in my community and like do yoga. Like just my gym does yoga like multiple times a week, and I'm doing it so that I can pass more tech exams, because I feel like the stress has kind of gotten to me. But oh man. Okay, so that would be a good one. I've got that one tagged. Okay, so your Mind, Friend or Foe by Mr. Cornfield. That is finished. So just one more to go, and then all the readings for this week will be done, thankfully. So this is another one by Cornfield. He's a big... he's definitely a really big figure in the space, so there'll probably be even more from him. So here's the second one by Jack Cornfield, and this will be the end of all the required reading, and then all I'll have left is the supplemental materials, and then one final round of formal and informal practice, and then it'll be time for week 4. So with that, let's close it out. The reality below thoughts. As we observe our thoughts and question our beliefs, we come to understand that while thinking, planning, and remembering are vital to our lives, they are more tentative than we believe. Our thoughts are always more provisional and one-sided than we admit. Ordinarily, we believe them, but questioning our thoughts is at the heart of mindfulness practice. Is what we believe real, solid, certain? As writer Richard Haight observed, Chief Roman Nose of the Cheyenne and his people believed that he was immortal and that he and they were right every day of his life except one. And I need a break. I'll be right back. All right, I am back. So let's close this out. When we believe our own thoughts and opinions, we become fundamentalists. There can be fundamentalist Buddhists, fundamentalist scientists, fundamentalist psychologists. But no matter how strongly we believe our perspective, there are always other points of view. In our personal relationships, this is really obvious. A relationship matures when each partner grants the possibility that the other may be right, though we may not always believe it. Most of our mental suffering comes from how tightly we hold our beliefs, thoughts, and perspectives. In the monastery, Ajahn Chah used to smile and ask, "Is it true?" He wanted us to learn to hold our thoughts lightly. In Buddhist training, thoughts are deconstructed, the entire structure dismantled plank by plank. The Sufis illustrate the one-sidedness of our thought with a story from the holy fool Mullah Nasruddin, A king, disenchanted with his subjects' dishonesty, decided to force them to tell the truth. When the city gates were opened one morning, gallows had been erected in front of them. A royal guard announced, "Whoever will enter the city must first answer a question, which will be put to them by the captain of the guard." Mullah Nasruddin stepped forward first. The captain spoke. "Where are you going? Tell the truth. The alternative is death by hanging." "I am going," said Nasruddin, "to be hanged on those gallows." "I don't believe you," replied the guard. Nasruddin calmly replied, "Very well then. If I have told a lie, hang me." "But that would make it a truth," said the confused guard. "Exactly," said Nasruddin, "your truth." So this is the Godel paradox. When we are bothered by our thinking, psychology tells us to ask, is it really true? If we listen from the heart, we will see how much trouble comes from believing stories that may not even be true. Jane Shaw said, "You have so many view and opinions, what's good and bad, right and wrong, about how things should be. You cling to your views and suffer so much. They are only views, you know." Within the stillness of meditation, we see the unreality of thought. We learn to observe how words and images arise and then vanish, leaving no trace. The succession of images and associations, often called mental proliferations, builds thought castles. But these castles, ideas, and plans float for a time and then they disappear like bubbles in a glass of soda. So we can become so silent that we actually feel the subtle thought energy appear and vanish again. But if thoughts are empty, what can we rely upon? Where is our refuge? Here is how the Indian sage, and this is the same person from last time, Nisargadatta answered the question. The mind creates the abyss, the heart crosses it. The thinking mind constructs views of right and wrong, good and bad, self and other. These are the abyss. When we let thoughts come and go without clinging, we can use the thought, but we rest in the heart. We become more trusting and courageous. There is an innocence to the heart. We are the child of the Spirit. And there is an innate wisdom. We are the ancient one. Resting in the heart, we live in harmony with our breath, our body. Resting in the heart, our patience grows. We do not have to think it all through. Life is unfolding around us. As the Indian master Sharon Singh put it, in time, even grass becomes milk. Oh, because cows eat it? That makes sense. Of course, stories have value. As a teacher and storyteller, I have come to respect their evocative power. But even these stories are like fingers pointing to the moon. At best, they replace a diluted cultural narrative or a misleading tale with a tale of compassion. They touch us and lead us back to the mystery here and now. In my individual meditation reviews, I try and help people drop below the level of their story and see the beauty that shines all around them. Psychologist Len Borgantino writes about frustrating therapy sessions with a patient who was disconnected, detached, and aiming to please. the feeling I had on one particular day was I just didn't want to say one more word to him about anything. To his surprise, I took out my mandolin, and in the most loving, mellow, beautiful way I could, I played Come Back to Sorrento. I've never heard. I'm kind of curious to hear what this is. It's a Oh, we gotta go. We gotta go with the Dean Martin version. All right. He broke down in tears and cried for the last 40 minutes of the session, saying only, "Dr. Borgantino." Oh, it's in a different language. You sure? All right, well, it's in a different language. You sure earned your money today, I thought. And to think I wasted all these years talking to people. When we drop below the stories, our hearts shine. That's a good idea. I've never heard of that happening where a psychologist will just like play a song for someone. That's a good idea. Okay, so this is Jack Cornfield. We already read his bio. So with that, that's the end of all of the required materials except for one more round of formal and informal practice. So we do have some extra stuff to go through, but it's all optional. But I kind of would like to. So we could do these out of order. That's okay. So let's try to get some out of the way. I guess I would like to get this one out of the way. Well, I have other things today that are on my plate. You know what? I think I have to come back, and if I want to do these, I'll just do it in their own video later today. I think that's really all that makes sense. So with that, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.